let's start here. CDC recently came out with a study that says that 80%, almost 80%, of the people that were hospitalized for COVID were overweight or obese. Now, we knew this. This isn't necessarily new news in terms of even with the deaths. We knew that the people that had the complications, obviously there we talk about comorbidities. You hear people throw that term out there a lot. And one of those generally associating with obesity, being out of shape, being, obese or overweight. And we knew this even in March. We knew this back when we were getting numbers from the countries that had to deal with this earlier on. But as to be expected, inefficient government does inefficient stuff. I think because they had something else to gain here with locking everybody down and treating everybody as if we are the same. And it's more specifically encouraging aspects of with the lockdowns that actually more so seem to stimulate obesity in terms of what it is that they advocate. Hey, you don't go nowhere. So, you're incentivizing delivery of like bad food, let's say, or fast food for that matter. You have aspects of like, the gyms being shut down, and that stuff we'll get into, but let's go through this. CDC study finds that again, 78% of people hospitalized for COVID were overweight or obese. So what CDC does. So y'all can't take my video down because I'm going to the people that y'all tell me to listen to. It says about 78% of people who have been hospitalized needed a ventilator or died from COVID. So it's actually not just hospitalized. That was just one of it. So have been hospitalized, need a ventilator, or died. So basically people that have had severe reactions, which you have to kind of take that hospitalized with a grain of salt. You guys need to understand, because with hospitalized, depending on where you're at in the country, that means a different thing to different areas. Like sometimes you can be considered a hospitalization if you just went to go get tested, you know what I'm saying? And you were there for a couple of minutes. So you got to take that with a grain of salt, but it does seem to go to the more severe reactions with ventilator, which I thought that was blowing out people's lungs anyway, or being obese. Okay, says the CDC. Just over 42% of the population was considered obese in 2018, according to the agency's most recent statistics. Overweight is defined by having a body mass index of 25 or more, while obesity is defined with a BMI of 30 or more. Let's read on what they say being reported by BSNBC. No, this is CNBC, not BSNBC. An overwhelming majority of people have been hospitalized, needed a ventilator, or died from COVID-19, have been overweight or obese, the CDC said in a new study on Monday. That was yesterday. Among 148,494 adults who received COVID diagnosis during an emergency department or inpatient visit at 238 U.S. hospitals from March to December, 71,491 were hospitalized. Of those that were admitted, 27.8% were overweight and 50.2% were obese. And this is according to the CDC report. Overweight is defined as, we just went through that. The agency found the risk of hospitalizations, ICU admissions, and deaths was among the lowest among individuals with under BMIs under 25. Now you got to kind of take that BMI stuff with a grain of salt, because it's not just with height. I mean, I know they have it scaled, but athletes are obviously going to, depending on how you look at it, even some people that are really in shape are going to have BMIs that put them in obese. We dealt with that a lot when we would get tested for that stuff in track and field, particularly among people 65 and older. And that's what they're saying. The risk of severe illness sharply increased as BMIs rose. So basically, for lack of better terms, the fatter you are, the more you had an increase in terms of how you were dealing with it. Just over 42% of the U.S. population was considered obese. We already just read that. It doesn't take a lot of extra pounds to be considered overweight or obese. A 5'10" inch man and 175 pounds and 5'4" inch woman at 146 pounds would both be considered overweight with BMIs just over 25. Exactly. So, you obviously know that there's 5'10" people that are in shape that are going to hit this. That's why I was saying you got to kind of take the BMI stuff with a grain of salt. But generally speaking, if they aren't athletic, yeah, they're going to be overweight. A man and a woman at the same heights would be considered. All right, we already know this. So basically, what this is finding is that obesity is common. Of course, they had to make sure you knew what the races were. But obesity is common and costly chronic disease in the U.S. Non-Hispanic Black adults have the highest prevalence. And I've talked about this before. And obesity among blacks, it is not good. Definitely among black men, it's certainly not good. That is something that needs to absolutely be addressed. So basically what this is saying is that the bigger you are, in terms of your weight, we know in some cases, no matter what they're saying about the BMI, that if you struggle with weight and you know if you're overweight or not, you're going to struggle more with the COVID-19 deal than a lot of other people otherwise that would not. And this is why it was so stupid. For the first thing that they went after, and think about it, depending on where you're at, you already know this, but the first thing that they went after, this is what pissed me off. First thing they went after, at the beginning of this whole pandemic and a lot of other areas, were the gyms. Now, you may be one of those idiots who think the only people that work out in gyms are people that are in shape, which wouldn't even make sense. But no, people that are obviously trying to do something about it go to these gyms. And the first thing that went were the gyms. So you not encourage. Now, does that mean that you can't work out other places? Of course. But to act like that doesn't have an impact is stupid. So what you're saying in a place that, and it's funny because, you know, I say this as a guy that my first, let's say, my man career, right, real life after college was being a, general manager at two different gyms. And you know how if you have worked, the sanitization is always on point with wiping down the machines and stuff. This is all part of policy generally in every gym that I've ever worked at. And, we got people that go rounds of cleaning the machines for that exact reason, not only just with the people that are using the machines, cleaning them themselves, which you don't even get that stuff at the Walmart hot boxes that y'all went to, as well as the Home Depots and the Lowe's, which are allowed to be open at the beginning of the pandemic, as these other places like the gyms were told that they had to shut down. So you can imagine among the filth and all of that's there. So it's probably dirtier there than it is at the gym. But they shut the gym down because they said that it wasn't essential, despite the fact that, we knew early on in the pandemic that, people that are working out are dealing with this way better than folks that are not. And the place where people go to take care of that, you shut down. So it's almost, you can argue that they're complicit in a lot of this crap because considering that what we know about, not CDC didn't have to confirm it. This is just them confirming what we already knew about this. It sucks for a lot of people that if we were encouraged to deal with that, it's crazy, right? They told you to stay trapped in a bubble, stay at home, stay trapped in a bubble, cover your face in the event that you that you go out. And that was what they told you to focus on. Not taking care of your body. Remember we talked about this early on in the pandemic? I don't know if y'all remember my earlier videos and I would discuss this. I said, why haven't they pitched that? It's not like the CDC, the people that care so much about people's lives, caring so much about people's lives and making sure they're healthy and they don't want people to die. There was never, ever, ever a coordinated effort by trying to keep the video monetized. There was never a coordinated effort by the people that you know as the state, that you worship at the altar, including their public health official. There was never a coordinated, legitimate effort to get you in shape. Think about it. It wasn't like they came out. Instead, it was like, thanks to all the people that are front lines and nurses and that are pop locking and stuff on TikTok. Be sure to wear a mask. Sir, we're going to get this celebrity to tell you that you need to take this injection or this vaccine. It was never, ever a coordinated effort to say, okay, guys, if you are in shape, you have a way significant better chance of dealing with this. Folks that work out, you know this. Think about the mass amounts of gains. And I'm not talking about gains in terms of just getting swolled up. In a year. We've been doing this for a year. I've seen people go from fat to not fat in half that time. Because you think about in a year, the amount of weight you could lose if you took your dieting seriously and your exercise seriously. Dude, just think about a year. A year. And not once did they come out and they were like, yeah, this is what y'all need to start taking y'all's health seriously, eat right, as well as work out. That was not what they did. It was just cover your face, social distance, stay at home. That's what it was. It's almost like they wanted you dead. And then it's funny, the folks that are like, we want to get back to work, defiant gym owners who are actually doing more to help people. The defiant gym owners, I would argue, are more heroes than the folks that y'all touting out there. I'd make that argument. You can be mad at me all you want. But those people that were saying screw the state, like those folks out there in New Jersey that were saying screw the state, screw the state, we're going to remain open. Those people, they had it right. And they were doing more to help people than you were. As you sat there again pontificating, lecturing, people telling them to stay inside, cover their face, and don't move. Because that is bad and you may get someone else hurt because of risks that we've been assuming for years and years. It sucks, man. We hear stuff like this that comes out, and you can see people like myself as well as others who had been saying this and yelling for a very long time that, guys, treating this as a one-size-fits-all is moronic, but even more so, the fact that you are trying to tell people not to move when we know that people that do move around are better handling this disease or sickness or illness, virus. And I think that's what's criminal. And it goes to show the fact that wasn't even on the table as a thing that you needed to do. Go work out. That wasn't, they make all these lists of things you need to do to save yourself and help yourself. You know, they never had exercise on that. When they sit up here and make these lists and they got all these bullet points of things that you need to make sure you do. Social distance, wear a mask, stay at home. It was not exercise your ass off. That was never, or eat right, eat better. That was never on the table. Maybe they actually wanted y'all dead. Maybe it was the people that were sitting here, including the experts that you tell us to listen to. Some of them, the ones that work for government, the public officials, it was never on the table. It was never on the table. It's almost as if they had something to gain there. And saving, that was just the whole saving life. That was just a way that they could kind of signal. But they really wasn't doing what it took and giving you the harsh realities. Such as, okay, people, these types of people, and these are things that can be fixed, right? Not everybody. Now, we know that there's a lot of people that excuse, the folks out there claiming that they big bone. I ain't we're of course not talking about the people that actually have things that are wrong with them that make them struggle with their weight. A lot of that stuff is just excuses. But a lot of this, if not all of it, can be absolved. Not absolved. You can't be absolved from it. Rather, you can resolve it yourself. There can be something done about your obesity. There can be something done about the fact that you're overweight. You can actually do something to fix that. They didn't tell you. They didn't even try because they wanted you to just sit at the house, not moving. But they did shut down the place that people generally go. Why? Maybe atmosphere. Maybe they don't have the equipment at home. Multitude of different reasons. But the people the place that people go to try to take care of this issue, the number one place, that was one of the first things that they shut down. And these folks are sitting here trying to lecture you about everything else and telling you that you don't care about people's lives if you don't do what they say. Meanwhile, they won't even tell you to go work out. Amazing.